Miami Heat, we can't be. Maybe it's not the most appropriate to sing that after a win versus the Washington Wizards because, hey, it's the Wizards. But your TCB, ladies and gentlemen, that stands for took care of business. One, I had to go ahead and sit down because I got my laptop all the way over there. Because if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, because by the way, I also post these, video recaps on my podcast, Believe in Miami Heat. The link is down below if you prefer an audio-only experience. Or if you're on the audio side, I also post the videos on the YouTube channel. And if you're on the YouTube channel, you can see that I'm once again in a different setup. That's because I'm back home in Broward County, the childhood home, and I always have to show. I got the Big 3 poster up here where I covered up LeBron James and put a picture of Hassan Whiteside over it. Please don't click off the video because I did that when I was a child. But anyways, you would have already known where I was at if you watched my last video, because it was actually a full-length podcast. Because, once a week, maybe once every other week, I actually post a full-length podcast where I sit down, talk for 20 or 30 minutes, and just give my thoughts on the entire Miami Heat and the NBA in general. And the whole purpose of that video was to talk about how the Miami Heat are the most bipolar team in NBA history. Well, that's how I at least titled the pod. Maybe that's a bit of a exaggeration, but maybe not, right? Because just to give a quick recap, if you didn't watch that podcast, you can check it out after this video because I don't want you to ruin my watch time. But the Miami Heat got blown out by the Pelicans, and then the next game they blew out the Cavaliers, and then they lost by 21 to the Warriors, and then they blew out the Portland Trail Blazers by 60 points. So going into tonight, I was a little bit nervous because, one, not only did you just lose to the Washington Wizards, 2 weeks ago, but the way these last couple weeks have been a roller coaster as we in March. Well, the last game was an up. It was a high, taking down Joe Cronin's bum-ass organization, beating their ass by 60. So I was a little worried that the next game would be a bit of a down. Now, this game wasn't really a blowout. You can't sit here and say the Heat blew out the Heat, but at the same or the Heat blew out the Wizards. But at the same time, it really wasn't close, which is all you can ask for. I haven't really seen any Heat fans be negative that the Heat only won by 12. Truthfully, the game wasn't even that close because they were up 15-18 for a lot of that second half, especially in that fourth quarter. But like I said, I haven't seen any Heat fans be annoyed at that. And I'm glad because seriously, you're not going to win every game by 60 points. You took care of business at the end of the day, and it wasn't a dogfight. It wasn't another clutch Heat game, as Cooper Moorhead always puts out on Twitter. Because I think the Heat do lead like the league in clutch games, which is crazy. But hey, that's why we're battle tested, and come playoffs, it's all going to work out, right? I sound sarcastic, but that's been my stance this whole season. I do think this team is going to make the NBA Finals. And that's because they have Bam Adebayo, who for me was once again the story of the game today. I'll go through the whole box score as usual here and kind of share my thoughts on everyone. But Bam tonight finished with 22 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and a block. He was 6 of 12, so didn't shoot a ton today. But the reason that I'm very excited about him is actually the one stat line that I didn't even read. Today, he was 0-2 from 3. Now, why does that excite me? Well, because you are starting to see how that his, I was going to say ability to shoot, but his willingness, I guess is a better word, to shoot from behind the arc is starting to benefit his game. I noticed several times today because actually Bam's first 3 of the game was like within the first couple minutes, first minute or two. And he caught the ball at the top of the key, did like a little slight jab step, got a few inches of space and pulled right away, and he missed obviously, but I loved it because it set the tone that the Wizards big man had to come out and guard him for the entire game. And then later in the game, I think it was another catch and shoot attempt by Bam, and he missed. But you're starting to visibly see the defense come out and guard him out there. Now, the Wizards are probably one of the smaller teams in the league. They were even missing Rashawn Holmes, their main center. But even their other bigs like Marvin Bagley, whoever the hell else they had, they were playing some 7-footer today named Vucevic. There's another Vucevic, apparently. The guy hit a 3. Maybe he's the next... Well, who knows? Maybe he's the next Wembanyama, or maybe he's the next Pokusevski. I can't tell you. But point is, the Wizards don't have a lot of bigs, and the few bigs they do have are more mobile. So maybe that's why they were more, susceptible. I don't think that's the right word, but they were more likely to go out and guard Bam, because if Bam was playing another team with, a slower big, maybe a guy like Domantas Sabonis or Rudy Gobert or Nikola Jokic, maybe those guys are more likely to continue to play drop coverage. And we know they do that a lot, right? Especially Brook Lopez, that's another name. And that is, I think, when you're really going to start to see Bam get those three-point attempts up, because those guys cannot guard him out on the perimeter. And guess what? If they try to, because they'll need to, because if Bam starts cashing them or keeps cashing those threes at the rate that he is, those slower guys will need to guard Bam out there. And that is an easy blow by to the rim every single time where Bam can attack the basket or drive and kick out. And that's what we saw kind of a lot today, because those guys were extending their range, guarding Bam at the three-point line. I noticed there was a lot of times Bam was able to blow past them, or there was another guy in the Heat that was either able to cut back door or roll to the rim, just because there was a lot more open space in the middle of the paint. And I was very excited about that, because we used to pray for times like this as a Heat fan. So although Terry Rozier was the leading scorer, and Duncan Robinson returned, and the team starting to get healthy, and Kevin Love still hasn't played, which is really weird. For me, the takeaway was Bam Adebayo. Now, I guess if you missed the game as a whole, it was relatively close in that entire first half. The Heat were down for certain portions. They might have got down by like 8 at most, even at one point. But then early in that third quarter, Duncan Robinson, welcome back. The man hit back-to-back threes. Terry Rozier got kind of hot. And then that's when the Heat went up double digits and never really looked back. And like I was saying, that fourth quarter, it got a little close, actually, as the Wizards cut like an 18-point lead to a 10-point lead. And then that's when you saw Jimmy Butler say, okay, I'll care about basketball for 5 minutes today. But we'll kind of go ahead and get into that and everyone else as we run through the box score here. I guess we can go ahead and start with Jimmy Butler. So he finished with 17 points, 5 of 11 from the field. So not a ton of attempts, but the 9 free throw attempts, he was 7 of 9 from the line today. Of course, that's what you love to see. Typically, that's be a sign that Jimmy Butler was very aggressive. Truthfully, he wasn't. You could tell in that first half, he was so disinterested. And I was nervous because last game, I think I told y'all if y'all watched the game, I had a very easy parlay and had an alternate of Jimmy Butler getting 10 points. He had 8. How the hell did he score 142 and Jimmy had 8? I was very frustrated. But I said, you know what? I'm going to run it back today. I just need 10 points from Jimmy and a couple other easy things. And Jimmy only has 6 for quite some time. Because if you were watching him in that first half, he didn't even want the ball. And when he got the ball, he didn't even want to attack. Which, again, I've been very public. I'm not going to get on Jimmy for that constantly, because I believe in playoff Jimmy. And until he shows me that I can't believe in him come postseason, I'll give him a pass in the regular season as long as they make the playoffs, which is, I guess, still iffy at this point, right? Because you're still technically the 7th seed. I think you're now a half game back at 6. So you don't want to be in that play-in tournament because you're susceptible to miss the playoffs entirely. But point is, I'm not here to roast Jimmy Butler. He didn't really care in the first half. Not surprising. They're playing the Wizards. But when things did get, relatively close in that fourth quarter, it was like an 8 to 10 point game. That's when you saw Jimmy Butler be a little bit more aggressive. And that's how he finished with 17 points. So shout out to Jimmy Butler. Nikola Jovic was hooping. 12 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 2 of 6 from 3. So didn't shoot incredibly great or nothing, but 0 turnovers. He continues to look more, truthfully, every game, more and more comfortable out there. Like whether it's defensively or knowing where to be on offense, knowing when to pick his spots, when to attack, like drive and kick as a facilitator, or knowing when to be a guy that can spot up in the corner or run around screens, because he's truthfully doing it all. And he took a lot of, very good shots today, open threes. But I also liked he was able to be aggressive and get up a couple tough threes today, too. There was 2 in particular that was very deep, and he hit one of them. And I love seeing that from Nikola Jovic, because that shows that he's being aggressive, which is showing that he is confident. And for him to pull those shots, too, again, that's another guy that the defenses have to go out and contest to. And just overall, I am, like, seriously, let's say not even a month ago, maybe a month, 2 months ago, if you would have asked me my confidence about Nikola Jovic being the starting 4 going into the playoffs, I would have been like a 2 as far as how much I trust him, on a confidence scale 1 to 10. Right now, I'm at about a 7, seriously, because we always knew we could score, facilitate a little bit, but it was the defense that was concerning me. And of late, he's been very, very solid. The IQ is there, and his lateral quickness is there. And those are two things that I did not think he had. Now, obviously, he's 20 years old, so I expected he would learn them eventually, but he's done it a lot faster than I think he would. So shout out to Nikola Jovic. Moving on here, we got Bam Adebayo. We talked about him. 22, 9, and 5 assists tonight. 2 steals. Just had to read his stats again because he was awesome. Don't need to spend too much more time on him. Duncan Robinson did return from injury. 6 points, 2 of 7 from 3. He got 28 minutes, try to get the rust off, but he'll continue to be better going forward. And Terry Rozier, your leading scorer of the entire game today, 27 points, 11 of 19, 5 of 11 from 3. His three-point shooting has been, it's like sensational lately. I was going to say incredible, but it's been better than that. And in that first half, he was really cooking. Had a nasty hezzy on Marvin Bagley. Had that boy lost. And then to end the first quarter, he had like a crazy little step back three, almost at the buzzer there. And Terry Rozier has been shooting phenomenal of late. And again, 0 turnovers for Terry Rozier. That's my favorite thing to see. Going off the bench here, nothing too significant. Jamal Cain did not have 30 points. So surprise, surprise if you thought he was going to continue that. But really, everyone played pretty solid. Jaime with 9, Hayward Highsmith with 10, and DeLon Wright with 9. So nice to see DeLon Wright cash in another 3 because we know his shooting's been struggling, but the defense has always been there. And Highsmith, I should note, was 2 of 6 from 3 because the previous 3 games, he was like 12 or 13 from 3, something crazy. So he came back down to earth a little bit, but I'm still rocking with Highsmith. And I'll also note no Patty Mills today. A lot of Heat fans were excited about that. But again, he's probably not going to be a guy that's in the rotation come playoff time. I don't think DeLon Wright even will either because you're hoping to get Tyler Hero back soon. But that still remains to be seen. I talked about that in my last podcast and in my video prior to that. So if you want to hear all about the Tyler Hero's injury, go check that out. But very weird, no Kevin Love minutes because he was actually cleared to play like now 4 games ago. But Spoelstra said he had some personal reasons, so missed a couple. And then he was back last game versus the Blazers. It was a blowout. You thought Spo could have found him 5 to 10 minutes to get the rust off. Same tonight, but it never came. So I do hope everything with Kevin Love is truly okay, just because I do think they need him come postseason. Just because of what he brings from a spacing aspect, to a rebounding aspect, to an IQ aspect, to the ability to draw charges. If you do play some of these bigger guys like Jaylen Brown or Tatum, and Giannis, and even if Embiid comes back, he's very important there. So I just want to say I hope everything with Kevin Love is okay. And on the Wizards side, we don't care too much. Their leading scorer was Jordan Poole, but he sucks. 8 of 20, 22 points for him on 20 shots. But that's pretty much all I got to say for this video, as the Miami Heat are a half a game back of 6. And I think they're 2 games back of Orlando now. Yeah. The Orlando Magic. Have y'all heard that song on TikTok? That's why I find it hard to root against the Magic, because if y'all don't know, every time the Magic win, they post a TikTok with this very good song. Just look up Orlando Magic song, and it's the catchiest song I've ever heard in my life, and that is no exaggeration. But anyways, I don't want to scoreboard watch too much because, like I've been saying for weeks now, if the Heat lose 2 in a row or win 2 in a row, and same with the Pacers and the Magic and the Cavs and the Knicks, it could change the whole standings completely. I'll start worrying about what other teams do the last week of the season. Because right now, I just need the Miami Heat to continue beating the teams they're supposed to beat and winning as many basketball games as possible. And that includes their next game coming up, which is versus the New York Knicks on, Tuesday? So it should be a good one. That Knicks team, they're dealing with a lot of injuries themselves. I don't think Anunoby's played for a while. I know they just got Mitchell Robinson back. But that team is very good, and it'll be a nice little test going as we approach April here. So that's officially all I got to say for this video. So make sure to like and subscribe because it does generally help me out a lot. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.
Look, pull up in your city trying to get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.